the news network for the people, combating mainstream media.
In today's video, we're going to talk about the new bill that has finally reached a deal on the coronavirus and why on Monday the previous bill was denied and what this new bill all includes. Now, the White House finally reached a deal with the lawmakers on a $2 trillion coronavirus stimulus bill. The White House and Senate leaders reached a deal on Wednesday shortly after midnight on an enormous and historic $2 trillion coronavirus relief package for workers and businesses after days of negotiations that had nearly been derailed by last-minute demands from House Democrats. Now, Monday had been marked with furious debate on the Senate floor as Republicans accused House Democrats of proposing an alternative stimulus bill that was full of unnecessary progressive wish list items. The Senate Democrats, in the meantime, repeatedly blocked the Republican stimulus bill, which would require 60 votes to survive. Now, the original bill offered by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi back on Monday included measures to restrict airlines' carbon emissions, protect illegal immigrants, provide for same-day voter registration, pay off billions in student loan debt, encourage federal agencies to employ minority banks, bail out the U.S. Postal Service, and even fund the JFK Center for Performing Arts. Quote, "There is a whole concern in our country that if we're giving tens of billions of dollars to the airlines, that we could at least have a shared value about what happens to the environment." End quote, Pelosi said on Tuesday. Now, the Republicans, including the president, have called the measures irrelevant nonsense and total non-starters, after Democrats signaled they might be willing to negotiate away some of their proposals, though the Dow surged and lawmakers appeared optimistic. Now, Democrats have argued the GOP package would do too much for large corporations and not enough for workers, and inaccurately suggested that the Treasury Secretary would have unilateral control over a massive slush fund. Now, Senate Democrats struck down the bill in a procedural vote on Monday amid what both parties wanted to include in it, but they made progress by Tuesday morning as Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said the sides were at the 2-yard line. Even so, Senators did not reach an agreement by the 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time deadline. Quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are done," the White House Legislative Affairs Director Eric Ueland announced as he left the office of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell near midnight. Quote, "We have a deal." End quote. Now, Ueland told reporters that much of the work on the bill text has been completed, and I'm hopeful over the next few hours we'll finish what's left and we'll circulate it early in the morning. End quote. Now, the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said the bill amounts to unemployment compensation on steroids, and that every American who is laid off will have their missed salary reimbursed. That provision will enable companies to stay afloat and immediately bring back these employees when things are safe, Schumer said. Now, the unprecedented economic rescue package would give direct payments to most Americans, expand unemployment benefits, and provide a $367 billion program for small businesses to keep making payroll while workers are forced to stay home. One of the last issues to close concerned $500 billion for guaranteed subsidized loans to larger industries, including a fight over how generous to be with airlines, given the Democrats wanted them to abide by new carbon emission restrictions. Hospitals will get a significant help as well. Now, in a letter to his colleagues, Schumer remarked, quote, "Democrats are ready to give our unanimous consent to speed up the consideration of the bill and get the job done." End quote. Now, what that means is that if there are no objections from the Republicans, the Senate could clear the bill without a formal roll call vote. Parliamentarily, this is the fastest way to move something on the floor. Here are some of the expected components of the plan, expected to cost roughly $2 trillion, according to comments from congressional leaders and aides, Trump administration officials, and a draft of the bill as of 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Cash payments of up to $1,200 for individuals, $2,400 for married couples, and $500 per child. Reduced if an individual makes more than $75,000 or a couple makes more than $150,000. Now, a $350 billion fund for small businesses to mitigate layoffs and support payroll. A $500 billion available to the Treasury Department to make loans, loan guarantees, and investments or to industries damaged by the pandemic. An employee retention tax credit. A $250 $140 billion in health care relief, $75 billion in aid for hospitals, $20 billion for health care for veterans, $20 billion for emergency public transportation relief, $10 billion for airport relief, $4.5 billion for the CDC, $50 billion in relief to airlines in the form of loans or grants, and another $8 billion for cargo carriers, $17 billion in relief for unspecified businesses critical to maintaining national security. Also as well, strengthening unemployment insurance, which could potentially add $600 per week for up to 4 months on top of what a state would give beneficiaries. The deal came hours after President Trump's top economic advisor said an unprecedented $6 trillion stimulus plan was imminent, including $4 trillion in liquidity from the Federal Reserve and a $2 trillion in new money from Congress.